Hauraki to LPPTV. Today we have a special edition of LPPTV where we will be taking the latest step in our Taniwha petition journey to have Waiheke Moana included in the Akuta Marine Reserves. Our petition of 3,150 signatures has closed and has been submitted to MP Erica Stanford. Now we begin our wandering out for our submission to the Select Committee.
This week we have Miss Moana Tamariki Pohe and Mr. Alex Rogers from the Hauraki Golf Forum with us. The Hauraki Golf Forum is responsible for advocating for Tikka Moana. But first let's update our journey from the last few weeks. Now Tangaroa Taniwha have made additional petition presentations to schools including Glamorgan, Browns Bay School, North Cross Intermediate and Long Bay College. These presentations were extremely successful, and in most cases we spoke to hundreds of people about our kaupapa. Greens Party MP Chloe Swarbrick has also been interviewed by LVPTV and lent her support to MPs Maya Lubeck and Erica Stanford, who are sponsoring our petition in Parliament.
As you can see, we have been pukumahi in promoting the Tangaroa's Taniwha petition. So this brings us to today's interview with Alex Rogers, Executive Officer of the Hauraki Golf Forum, and Ms. Tamariki Pohe, Deputy Chair and Tangata Whenua Representative on the Hauraki Golf Forum, and will be providing us with the Tangata Whenua perspective on how to best protect and manage the taonga that is Tikka Moana. Our interview will begin with a pre-European view of how to manage the resources of Tikka Moana before we look at what is being done today to protect her.
No mahana mai korua kete LVPTV. Thank you both for joining us today. Please feel free to add to the discussions of any of these questions. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and what your job is?
Kia ora, ko Moana Tamariki Pohe tōku ingoa. No Ngāti Whātua ki Hauraki me wai ohua. So I'm from Hauraki and I'm also from Mangere, and I grew up in Tāmaki Makaurau, Auckland, right beside Okahu Bay. So it's been my lifelong passion to make sure that we return the mauri of the bay back to its original state.
Kia ora, ko Alex tōku ingoa. My name's Alex, I'm the Executive Officer of the Forum. I've got two kids a little bit like yourselves at Maringi Bay Schools, they're just down the shore. So I also live, like you do, next to Tikka Moana.
Historically, which iwi have a vested interest in the kaitiakitanga of Tikka Moana?
Great question, Harlan. I think all iwi have a vested kaitiaki interest in Tikka Moana. Some take a more active stance to demonstrate how important they think that kaitiakitanga responsibility is. So there are a number of iwi that are out there doing some really, really cool work around restoring the mauri of the bay.
Were any particular iwi responsible for a particular area?
So if we're looking back to like the 1600s, there have been a number of iwi that have come through up until today. So some big changes happened when the treaty was signed and what iwi took responsibility or ownership in those particular areas. So there have been a number. I think if we're thinking about Tikka Moana, definitely Ngāti Pāua. They've got a huge interest in the bay, Ngāti Whātua, in terms of the Waitemata and around Mission Bay and Okahu Bay and places like that. But then we've got Ngāti Rehua up in Great Barrier Aotea, and 26 iwi in total that have interest in the Hauraki Gulf, Tikka Moana.
How did iwi manage the resources of Tikka Moana before the arrival of Pākehā?
Great question. So Māori very much went with the seasons in terms of where they could source the majority of their food from. So in some seasons it would be on one side of the harbour, and we were really lucky in Tāmaki that we only had a short walk across the other side to the Manukau. And then because of its environment, that it was very easy to grow crops. in Tamaki Makaurau in Auckland, so the plentiful food, making sure that we didn't take too much from one area to deplete it of all.
Were they always successful at managing these resources?
I think towards maybe early 1800s, with the population growth, that definitely had an impact on the environment, and with deforestation in Tamaki Makaurau, that also had an impact on the environment in terms of the birds. The birds weren't there any longer, so population growth had an impact. But still we maintained customary practices in terms of rahui and making sure that we left certain species of fish and shellfish to enable them to replenish.
Which of any of these strategies are we using today to protect and enhance the health of Tikka Moana?
There are a couple of areas in Tamaki and a few more within the Hauraki area that are currently using the rahui method to leave shellfish or fish alone, but I think we need to do more. We need to do lots more.
Are there any strategies that we're not using that we could be using?
I think we could use the rahui strategy much better. And I hear that you guys are really pushing to push the reserve out there to replenish fish stocks and the ecology of the ocean. And I think we could do that much better.
Is there anything else that you would like to share about iwi perspectives in the kaitiakitanga or Taniwha?
I love kaitiakitanga. What that means for me is that we all take responsibility for the environment. And I have a bit of a saying that it's eco, not ego. So making sure that we all know that we're all part of a really amazing ecosystem, no greater, no lesser than anyone or anything else, no greater than the fish or the birds, that we're all in this together. So really taking that eco approach, not the ego approach.
Kia ora, Alex. What are the main issues that the forum is concentrating on for Tikka Pomona?
Great question. So the forum's trying to protect and restore Tikka Moana. When we look at protection, we want to stop sediment flowing in from developments into the ocean. We want to stop plastics getting tangled up with sea life. We want to do everything we can to make sure that marine life has a safe space to grow and flourish in the ocean. And then we also want to restore it. Back in the day, there used to be hundreds and hundreds of square kilometres of shellfish beds in Tikka Moana, which basically carpeted the seafloor and provided all this base for the life to flourish. And we want to see those come back.
What programs is the forum involved with that are addressing these issues?
So recently we announced two big goals for the marine park. The first is that we want to see at least 20% of the waters, or if you hold up your hand, one full finger put aside in marine protection. We think that's really important. And we also want to see 1,000 square kilometres, which is a big area, set aside and be full of mussel and other shellfish beds and reefs, because those shellfish not only provide food for other sea creatures, but they also clean the water. They're really amazing at cleaning dirty water.
What percentage of the Hauraki Marine Park is currently covered by marine reserve?
It's a really good question, and the answer might surprise you. So if your whole hand was the marine park, the bit covered by marine reserves is just the tip of your pinky finger. That's it, just the fingernail of your pinky finger. 0.3% of the marine park is covered by reserves at the moment.
How much of this area would the forum ideally like to have as a marine reserve?
That's a tricky question, and the reason is because when we talk about protection, we don't only talk about marine reserves. So there are other ways in which you can also protect marine life. There's some things you can do to stop certain fishing practices in areas. Moana's talked about the important use potentially of rahui in the Gulf. So there's a range of ways that you can protect. So we have said we want 20% protected, not necessarily in marine reserves, but we do think that a large percentage of that should be in marine reserves.
How does the Hauraki Gulf Forum pay for its conservation initiatives?
So we are funded by our what we call our constituent parties. That's a big way of saying our members. So our members are central government, local government, the Auckland and Waikato regions, and mana whenua, tangata whenua members. So collectively, that group funds the work that we do.
How did you hear about our petition, and do you think our petition is a reasonable request, and why?
So I think your petition's fantastic. I really do, and I congratulate you on it. I heard about it from your very enthusiastic teacher, Mr. Joyce, and he approached us, which was wonderful, because part of our role is to give even more life to the work that's going on around the Gulf. So we want to celebrate the work that you're doing, make sure more people hear about it, make sure communities in other parts of the Gulf also know what you're doing, because I think it's really inspirational. So congratulations for taking it.
Do we have your personal support for Waikiki Beach to be included in the Okura Marine Reserve?
So I might answer first and then I'll let Moana answer. But personally, yes, you do. When it comes to the forum, life's a bit complicated because we're working in a political environment where we need to make sure we can make collective progress. But yes, on a personal basis, you have my support.
And me too. Have my personal support. If there's any work that's been done out there to return the Māori or the life force back to the oceans, then I'm in support of that.
Thank you both for joining us on LBP TV. Is there anything else you would like to share with us about how to approach our kaupapa?
I think because you're as young as you are and as passionate as you are about this kaupapa, then that's a great way to keep going forward, and you'll get lots of support from lots of people.
And I'm a strong believer in the power of collective action. So I would recommend that you go and seek out other schools in other parts of the Hauraki Gulf that are also looking at marine protection initiatives and actually form a collective. And while you're pursuing your own marine reserve proposal, that could then be joined by other proposals from other schools. So I think there's real potential there, and it's something I'd like to see you explore.
Mihi koutou for joining us on LBP TV to support the Tangaroa Taniwha petition to have Waikiki Beach included in the Okura Marine Reserve. Remember to tune into the Tangaroa Taniwha page on lbptv.blogspot.com to follow our hikoi. Mā te ora.